Hello and welcome to revision classes on television. Today we will be having a session in English language. Our guide is Ekruke Joy and our topic today is comprehension, an important aspect of English examination.
What is comprehension? That should be the first thought that should come to mind. Then we say that the comprehension is the ability to understand and give answer to what you have read or listened to. In every comprehension passages, candidate ability is tested on synonyms. Okay, these are the areas candidates is tested. The first is on synonym. Okay, then we have the next one. The candidate's ability is tested on factual content. Factual content. Now, when we talk about synonym, we're talking about words that are, closely, that have the same meaning. Okay? Then we'll talk about factual contents. That is what the passage is talking about, the information contained in the passage. Then we'll go to the third one. It's also texted, students' ability is tested under expressions, English expression. Such as figures of speech, or idioms, idiomatic expressions. Then we'll also look at grammatical names and functions. So these are the areas that, students' ability is, candidate ability is tested. Okay, we also look at the fifth one, which is under elimination and substitution of words. For a candidate to be able to give proper answers to a comprehension passage question, the candidate had to go through, take certain steps. Okay, these steps will help you to be able to give accurate answers to the question. So steps to answering comprehension passage. Now the first step is give accurate answer to each question as asked in your own words. Okay? To each question asked. This simply means that you are not to lift these words, okay, or the information word for word, okay? You are not to lift it word for word. Then we'll look at the next one, Make sure your answers are written in simple sentences. Simple sentences. Don't use complex sentence or compound complex and all of that. Just use simple sentence to state your answer. That will go a long way to help you. Let your answer be precise. Let your answer be precise. Okay? Your answer should be very precise. Don't go to add illustrations from the passage or any other idea or examples from the passage to your answers. Let it just be precise. Avoid grammatical errors. Now we want to quickly look at the passage, 2015 WAEC English Comprehension passage. Okay, and I believe if you have your past question with you, you can join me, but where you don't have, just give me attention while I read. But before then, I would want us to look at these keywords from the passage. These keywords will help us to give accurate answers to the questions we're going to meet. So at the course of our reading, I would want us to give attention, keen attention to these words as I read out and we listen. The instruction says, read the following passage carefully and answer the questions on it. The mansion by roadside in my village reminds me of a similar site in the state's capital 3 decades ago. Standing conspicuously by the highway in the heart of the city, the mansion posed a bold challenge to road users. It belonged to Chief Coco, who was regarded as untouchable in his community. Nobody dared step on his toes. Motorists had learned to stay clear of it. It was generally assumed that moving close to it could cost one's life. Then came a governor who decided to widen all the major roads in the capital city. He stressed that this would involve the demolition of buildings that fell within 20 meters from the center of the road. However, although the governor also stressed that compensations would be paid, Chief Coco was not impressed. He made it clear that nothing should tamper with his mansion, warning that whoever defiled him risks their consequence. Not long after the governor's official proclamation, newspaper reporters had a field day speculating on the unprecedented confrontation with Chief. With time, news filtered out that he accepted that whoever dared him would certainly end up where others like them had gone. The message was clear. Defiance meant death. So reporters were pleading for a new route to circumvent the mansion. However, the governor made it clear that there would be no retreat. Before long, work started on the project. One of the first casualties was a post office that was just some meters within the specified distance. It was cut into two. Soon, the frontage of a school nearby also followed. But it was assumed that things would be different with the mansion, whose owner tolerated no effrontery. Day by day, the project moved closer to the mansion, with the heavy machines leveling one structure after another. Then, when it was clear that the mansion was next in line, the driver of the bulldozer requested to go on leave. This got to the governor, who ordered the driver to first do his duty. He sent emissary to the governor to spare his life, since his children were still very young. The following morning, people got a shocker. The governor himself showed up at the site and asked for the key to the bulldozer, ready to assume the role of the driver. The driver, surveying the possible consequence, tearfully climbed up and pleaded that the governor should please care for his children after his demise. The governor announced that if anything was to happen, he, not the driver, would be the target. So the driver got to work and the mansion collapsed like a pack of cards. Press photographers went to town with their cameras, hoping to capture Chief Coco in action, but nothing unusual happened, and soon the whole structure became a rubble. The aftermath. Everybody thought either or both men would soon belong to the great beyond. But this much I know, that governor is still around, and so is the driver. This is the end of the passage. I want us to quickly take through the questions and the type of questions usually asked on the comprehension passage. On the WAEC comprehension passage, there are 5 types of questions usually asked. They are, number 1, recall question or direct question. Then we have the next one, question requiring inference. Then the third one is questions on figurative expression. Then we have the fourth one to be questions on grammatical name and functions. The fifth one, we have questions on replacement of words. We're going to quickly take through this, the questions on the comprehension passage that we just read. Now, any question I'm going to be mentioning, I will tell you the kind of question that we have there. Question A is on recall question. It's a good example of recall question. This is because the question itself, the answer to the question is explicitly stated in the passage. You can easily get it from the information there. All you need to do is to just, put down the information, the idea in your own words. You are not to lift it verbatim. You will just put it down in your own words. So we'll take the first question, which is question A. What opinion did people have of Chief Coco? Okay, this is a good example of recall question. Now, I will quickly take you to the passage. Now, remember, I want to remind you that a comprehension passage is a unique aspect of English language question that contains all the answer that you need in the body of the passage. You don't need to go outside the passage to start looking for an answer to it. So every answer you are going to give to the question are contained, okay, is contained in the passage, right there in the passage. So your own idea, what you know is not needed in this part of the question. So let us quickly go to the passage we just read. Question A is lifted from paragraph 1. Here we have, it belonged to Chief Coco, who was regarded as untouchable in his community. Now, you are not to leave this part of this information the way it is. You are going to reconstruct it into your own sentence and making sure that it passes along the same message. Now, let us quickly look at the possible answer to this question. People regarded him as ruthless. Or you can put it this way, people regarded him as merciless or untouchable. Or you can also reframe it in this way, people thought that he was ruthless or untouchable. But make sure that your answer is written in a simple sentence without any grammatical error. Then we'll quickly go to question B. What does the expression unprecedented confrontation tell us about the governor? What does the expression unprecedented confrontation tell us about the governor. Now, this question B is an example of question requiring inference. Is an example of question requiring inference. So question B now the possible answer to this question is the expression tells us that the governor was the very first person to dare confront Chief Coco. Let us quickly take it to the same passage we just read. Okay, in paragraph 3, you will see where it is written clearly here. Not long after the governor's official proclamation. What is the official proclamation of the governor? He talks about, how he's going to demolish houses that are not 20 meters away from the center of the road. Okay? So, and he is the first person to come out to say a thing like that, and he is not exempting any building. So, here it said, the answer to this question is that Chief Coco. Okay, the expression tells us that the governor was the very first person to dare confront Chief Coco. Okay, then I also quickly take us through question C. Is a good example of recall question. Why was it necessary to demolish buildings? Why was it necessary to demolish buildings? This will take us to paragraph 2. In paragraph 2 here, it stated, then came a governor who decided to widen all the major roads in the capital city. He stressed that this would involve the demolition of buildings that fell within 20 meters from the center of the road. So from this information, you see that your answer is clearly stated here. This question C is an example of recall question, and the possible answer to this is it was necessary because the major road were to be widened. Okay, then I will take you to another kind of question we have. Question under figurative expression, question H. Question H under figurative expression. Here, the question says, quote a simile used in the 6th paragraph of the passage. Okay, now, they say, quote a simile. Now, what is simile? Simile is a comparison done between two different things with the use of like, as if, and all of that. But for metaphor, there is no use of, though it is also, it involves comparison of two things, but there is no use of like. So you go to the paragraph 6, as stated in the question, paragraph 6. You look for a quote there that involves simile, a quote under simile, paragraph 6. So the driver got to work and the mansion collapsed like a pack of cards. So the possible answer to that question there is like a pack of cards, because that is the only place in paragraph 6 that we have such expression using like. So possible answer is simile is the mansion collapsed like a pack of cards. Here they are comparing how the mansion collapsed to that of the fall of a pack of cards. I don't know if you have seen where you keep a pack of cards straight that is not in a pack, then you leave it. You see that it will all collapse down. That is what the writer just did in this part of the passage, in the paragraph, the 6th paragraph of this passage, comparing how the mansion collapsed to that of pack of a cards. So it is simply a simile because it contains the use of like. It contains the use of like. Then I want to quickly take us through the next one, which is grammatical names and function. This is an important aspect of this comprehension question, because students will always have issues with this. and they will want to dodge away from it. If it is possible, they will say WAEC should not set question on this. So let us quickly look at the question there. An expression is lifted from the passage, and the expression reads, not long after the governor's official proclamation. Okay, and the question is, what is the grammatical name of the expression as it is used in the passage? Remember, I will always tell us that when we are considering any question under comprehension, always consider this as it is used, okay, in the passage. Because if you don't consider this and you answer your question in isolation, you will end up supplying wrong answer. So this will take us back to the passage. He said, as it is used in the passage. As it is used in the passage. Let's quickly go to paragraph 3. This is where we have it. Say, not long after the governor's official proclamation, newspaper reporters had a few days speculating on the unprecedented confrontation with Chief Coco, or with Chief. So we have taken this expression back to the passage. Now we want to look at this expression. What is the grammatical name used for this very expression? Okay, not long talks about time. Okay, and the only part of speech that talks about time mainly is adverbial. Now, the answer to this question is adverbial clause, because it's an adverbial phrase, adverbial phrase of time. But I always tell my students, please, do not add, the position of that adverbial to it if you are confused, if you are not sure. But if you are sure that it's an adverbial or phrase or clause, you can put it that way, but there's no need adding place or time or purpose or condition, whatever, to it. You can still score, okay? Not long after the governor's presidential official proclamation. Here you see that there is no verb contained in this. Remember, I always tell us that a phrase does not have, doesn't have what? A verb in it, but a clause does. So because of this, looking at it, there's no verb there. Okay, so that makes it a phrase. I've already told us what makes it a verb. So what our answer here is that the possible answer there is an adverbial phrase. You can say of time. That is why I'm putting it in the brackets. You can say of time. That's why I'm putting it in the brackets. You can omit it or you leave it that way. Then the function also will take us back to the passage. The next question is, what is the function? For you to get this function done, you must take it back to the passage, because what it functions as is not the verb is going to work on, is not contained in the very expression that you are seeing there. And the answer is, it modifies the verb heard, and this heard is contained in the other part of the sentence. Here comes the end of our lesson today. I wish you well in your forthcoming exam as you prepare so hard to stand tall among your mates. Thank you. Remain blessed.
That's the much we can take today on the program. Join us next time for another educating session.